Welcome to All Things Real Estate. I'm Terry Lajoie, your host, 20-year real estate veteran with Keller Williams Coastal and Lakes and Mountains Realty.
And I am Sean Sandville, owner-founder of Oak Hill Solutions.
Hi everyone, welcome back to All Things Real Estate. I'm your host today, Terry Lajoie with Keller Williams Coastal and Lakes and Mountains Realty. And today I'm here with Joe Gagnon with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices.
Yes.
You're in the commercial division. So
yes.
Joe, tell us first a little bit about you, and then we'll dig into all the great things that you do.
So a little bit about me and how I got into commercial realty. Well, about a year now, so we're off and running. I've come past the first kind of major hurdles, which is, I'm sure you know, it's hard to get 2 deals in your first year. I managed to close 5
nice.
in 2025, and I still got a couple of months left till I get to my first actual year. So I have the first deal of the year closed so far. That was last Friday. So pretty excited about that. How I got into realty was I was working as a salesperson for a commercial cleaning company, and owner unfortunately got really sick and had to sell the company really quickly, and it was kind of catalyst for me to make a change in my life. I was doing very well with sales, had been in prior jobs as well, so it made sense to go into business for myself, as it were. So already had tons of experience with business owners and property managers and things like that, had a lot of contacts there, so commercial made sense for me, and I think that experience has led to the success in my numbers so far in this year, and 2026 is looking pretty great. I've started playing the off-market game, which I think is the real game for commercial. So
for all real estate, actually.
Really, yes, you're right. You do a lot of multifamily, which can happen very quickly off-market, especially right now. That's where the investors are looking, especially when they're first starting out, getting their first investment property.
Even on the residential space.
Yeah.
I've got 3 deals that I'm working right now that are off market, both buyer and seller off market. And it's really about listening. And I think you'll agree. If you're listening and you have a buyer that says, I'm looking for this, and then you're in your travels, you meet with a seller and says, well, I'm doing this. And you're like, well, this is a match. And then it's a conversation. And you bring the 2 together and make a deal. So I love that you're doing a lot of the off-market stuff.
You kind of nailed it there. It really is about listening, because you never know who you're going to talk to in your travels that is going to connect with someone else you've already been talking to. And if you can get something figured out, a deal made before it needs to hit the market, you're saving your client money, but you're also making more money for yourself as well, because you're skipping some steps.
True.
And making some connections without having to go through the effort of a large marketing campaign. So
true, but I think the more important piece is that you're saving your seller, whether it's commercial or residential. You're saving your seller from all of the steps that go into getting the marketing done before it hits the market, going on to the market, having all the people coming through, whether it's a commercial space or residential space, you're having all these people come through, whether it's an open house or just regular showings. And sometimes a seller is just like, I just don't want to deal with any of that.
They want to keep things private.
They do.
Yes.
And especially on the commercial side. And before I ask I'm going to ask the question, which is, talking about the businesses, because you do a lot with the businesses, but what made you choose real estate? Let's just go back to the beginning real quick, because you were in sales.
Yes.
But there's all kinds of sales.
Sure.
You can sell all kinds of things, right? And if you're a salesperson, one sales to another, they translate in most cases very easily. What caused you to choose real estate? Because real estate is not an easy business. We make it look easy. But the reality is, behind the scenes, real estate is not an easy business. So why did you choose real estate?
Well, I wanted ownership of my own business.
Okay.
That was key for me. Could have done a lot of, I could have opened my own cleaning company and, as the head of that company, just did the sales arm and hired out the rest. Did I want to go through all of that work? Not necessarily. Did I have the experience where I could help other people who wanted to do that work get there faster? Absolutely. So that kind of drove me into real estate, primarily that business owners are buying and selling their properties when they're moving and using their businesses. Leasing as well. So I do help a lot of landlords and tenants make connections as well. A lot of first-time business owners who maybe even haven't gotten started yet, but are looking for their space so they can build from something. So.
Now, talk a minute about the leases, because leases on the commercial side are very different from a lease on the residential side. So talk about that difference, because both of us hold the same license.
Yes.
Either one of us could do what the other is doing according to our license. But talk about that difference between the residential lease, which is typically 12 months, versus a commercial lease, and the terms specifically that go into a commercial lease, because they're very different.
12 months and straightforward. Typically the price is the price, and unless there's fees and fines for whatever, or like you're in a condo and there are condo fees and things like that, HOA fees, it's pretty similar. So you do see a price when you look at a listing that is commercial. The first thing you've got to focus on, because different agents will post the price differently as well.
Correct.
But a majority of agents are going to post it as a dollar amount per square foot per year. So you've got to break it out into what the monthly payment would be to kind of translate for your maybe inexperienced tenant that you're working with.
That's a price per square foot, but the lease doesn't end there.
No, and that's price per square foot for the base rent, depending on the kind of lease you're talking about. Full gross lease, that number is going to be your full rent in most cases. Modified gross lease, that's going to be your full rent. Maybe you're also paying an additional amount if there's plowing or landscaping. You're paying your own utilities in most cases then. Then there's triple net lease, in which you're paying your base rent. Then there's typically another dollar amount per square foot that covers all the common area maintenance, like landscaping, plowing, covers maybe some utilities if if you're sharing like electricity with another unit or gas with another unit, something like that. And then common areas. So if there are common hallways, if those are cleaned by a cleaning service, that'll be a part of that. Sometimes it's a flat rate. Sometimes the landlord will settle up once a year. So there'll be a rate for the year that you've paid into. If you've overpaid, you'll typically see a credit. If you've underpaid, you'll get charged whatever the difference. If it's a heavy snowplow year, if it's very icy like it has been this year and they're throwing down more salt, they spend more than they thought they were going to spend in that number for the year. You could see a little or a large bill at the end of the year.
I've seen some of those bills come out, and they can be substantial.
They can be. So if you think if you're signing a lease and you're thinking you're getting a great deal, it's a triple net lease, and you see that number is low, just know at the end of the year there could be settling. You got to take a look at your lease, because it could be a flat number and the landlord's got to deal with it. He picked a low number, or she picked a low number, and it is what it is. It's got to come out of their pocket, or they settle up once a year. Now,
how are landlords in a triple net where they say, okay, these are your fees? Are they willing to share like the last 3 years? Can a tenant ask?
Oh, absolutely.
What are the last 3 years that have been settled at the end of the year? And kind of look back and, hey, what caused those differences? Was it snow? And how much of a difference did snow make? Because that's a big one.
Absolutely.
That really hurts people.
And if you're working with a realtor when you're going to negotiate a lease, that realtor should be asking for that information as well. So you'd want to see what the average costs were and what it's likely to be. You definitely want to do that as a business owner for projecting purposes.
Right.
Yes.
So you do a lot of work with business owners, and you enjoy talking about that a lot. So I'm gonna have you talk about, you work with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you work with people that want to buy businesses. Maybe it's their first business and they want to buy into a business, or they're looking to sell a business, whether it's because of financial reasons, health reasons, they're ready to retire. There's any number of reasons why people decide to sell their business. And they may sell with the property or they may sell without the property. Can you kind of talk about that? And I know I just threw a lot at you, but it's all together. And so talk about
Absolutely. It is a
piece of
big question, but it is all together. And sometimes the business is the property. If we're talking a strip center, you're leasing out each of those spaces. You're running a business. You're leasing out that building, that property is your business.
Right.
Very similar when talking about, say, a laundromat. You know, you're talking about the income from your machines rather than your units. You know,
Right.
so. You know, there are some nuances to
But with a
evaluating
laundromat,
business.
It's hard to take the laundromat out of the physical space.
This is true. Although it is not impossible
It is
to
not
move
impossible.
a laundromat, though you typically would not want to do that. But there are instances where that laundromat is leased, so it's not owned by the owner of the
business.
property.
Yeah.
Usually you're going to probably lower your net income, you know, if you're leasing and not owning in a laundromat, but it is very common. And I would say the cash flow in a laundromat is probably worth the rent, depending on where you're renting and how much demand you have in your laundromats are very popular right now.
Yes, they
Car
are.
washes are very popular right now.
Storage units as well.
Those are fairly easy businesses to evaluate. You know, you find out the traffic in the area, the incomes of those nearby. You know, if it's an existing car wash that you're thinking of buying, say, you can look at the books.
Right.
That's probably going to be, if looking at their current financials is the number one way you're going to find out how much that business is worth.
Okay. So I have to stop you there.
Sure.
Sometimes when you ask for the financials and you have a professional business owner, and I say professional as in they've been in business a long time, they run the business as a business. And then you've got the person who owns a business, but they really don't know and understand business. And their books they keep them, but I'm going to say they're not as detailed or as structured as somebody else might have who has an accountant and has,
Sure.
you know, the CPAs on staff and that. So talk about that difference between evaluating a business that's like a little mom and pop shop that has supported their family for the last 30 years. They're ready to retire, but money came in and money went out and that's just what it was, versus your professional who owns 30 laundromats versus a one-off, right? The one-off may have provided very well for that family, but this person over here who owns 30 of them, their books are going to look very different, aren't they?
Well, maybe not. There are some very successful people who
It's true.
do their books with a paintbrush and they have 30 laundromats. You know, cash flow is good on those kind of businesses. So you don't necessarily need to be a great business person to be successful in businesses. True. Depending on the business. But I think I know what you're driving at. Time and how long you need in order to get the dollar amount you're seeking from the business is the difference. So someone who's kind of got their books in order, you know, how an investor or a new buyer of a business would want to see them, that's going to sell quicker,
Right.
Because it's ready to go. Someone who is, maybe they've, say, charged their personal cell phone to the business, or they only have the one car, so it's their personal car and business car, but it all goes to the business. You know, it's a laundromat, maybe a couple of quarters here and there have fallen in between the tiles. You know, it's owners' perks. You
Right.
know, they can take money out of the business. But it's not something that an investor is going to want to see. So if you up and decide, now I'm going to sell my business, you're going to sell it for what's actually on the books
Right.
today. If you have 2 to 3 years to do things in a way that an investor is going to want to see it, show the business is cash flowing the way it is, you're going to have more success rate getting that higher price. So sometimes it can take time, just time.
Right.
You know, you just have to do the right things in succession, and then you'll be able to show to an investor that the business is currently worth. An investor who has cash money that's going to buy a business, they're not going to buy hopes and dreams in most cases.
Correct.
You might find someone who is new to business, wants to buy their first business instead of starting from scratch, kind of skip some of the heartaches of startup, and they'll get you closer to your price. But you're going to be more likely having to owner finance that kind of a deal, right, and hold their hand through the transition a little bit. They're gonna be the ones that are gonna be sold on the hopes and dreams a little bit, right, because they're looking to build something. So
now, I believe I know the answer to this question, but when you run into that business that has been the family business and they just do their thing. You have the ability and the skills and the knowledge to take them from books that an investor doesn't really want to see and the hopes and dreams, right?
yes,
To these are the steps you need to take to get over here, where we can bring in that investor. They're going to look at the books, they're going to understand the books, they're going to be the way that they want them to be, and they're going to give you the maximum price for your business this way. You do that work in between as well, don't you?
Oh, yes. We would certainly help you get there. But again, since it can take time, months, it is a lot of work that would be on you, the business owner, to make those consistent choices. You would be working with other people as well, your accountant, and anyone in financials in your business should be focused in on this goal. You know, you don't want to announce company-wide that you're thinking of selling your business, but it is always a good idea to bring one, maybe even two people on your team in. You never know that your buyer might actually be right there in your office. And because you're too afraid to say something to cause panic,
right,
you've missed that opportunity.
I've actually seen probably 4 small businesses that I frequent that recently sold to an employee.
Oh, yes.
And the transition was seamless for their customers. Like,
the new owner knows the business. They probably know how the business has been doing financially as well, and they've got ideas of their own for how they could improve the business.
Correct.
So, and they're probably on your inside team anyways. They're probably someone that you're asking for input anyways.
all of them were part of the leadership team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always.
Yep. Which is, it's kind of fun to, as a business owner myself, to see that and see a business transition to, I'm going to say, that next generation, if you will, where, the person who's started the business, has run the business and grown the business, now they're ready to retire, and they actually have a business that they can sell.
Yes.
As opposed to a hobby that funded their life. And I think there's a lot of businesses out there that have difficulty selling as a business because they just don't have all the business structure in place.
I think one of the biggest struggles with small, local, Main Street businesses selling to other than investors is the business is driven by the business owner. They're the face of the business. Even if it's not named after them, every one of their clients know them.
Exactly.
So when it sells, inevitably there's going to be some drop off. So what you need for that kind of a buyer in that case is someone who's going to pick up the reins and be that person.
Right.
an investor is going to look at that kind of company who's got the current owner, the seller is the company. They're going to see that that person's doing 3 jobs, and they're going to have to hire 3 people.
Right.
That's going to be part of their evaluation, and it's going to drop the offering price.
Exactly.
Because they're going to take that into consideration. They're not going to be there every day running it like the former business owner is. And I personally think it's very important that small businesses in New Hampshire stay in New Hampshire residents' hands and continue as small businesses. I think in the coming years, small businesses are going to be something we depend on heavily. And
I agree. I already do.
Yes.
I already do. I do, a lot of shopping at small local businesses. And I very much enjoy that. So we have a few minutes left. Can you talk about the other types of commercial deals that you do? Because we've talked a lot about businesses and leases. Talk about what else you do on the commercial side of things. Kind of break that nut open for people.
Sure. There are kind of 2 things that I generally focus on. One is redevelopment. I like properties that kind of have some quirks now, but have a lot of possibilities for the future. Maybe it's been rezoned. There's an old building on the property, and it just needs someone who is going to make it new again. There are a lot of towns right now that are kind of tweaking the zoning, making commercial areas more commercially focused. So if there were some overlaps with residential areas that are now turning commercial, that's kind of where my focus is in one aspect. Also a lot on retail. There's a big retail. I'm sure you've heard about Rite Aid this past year. And that's just really a small example. There's a huge retail turnover right now, not only in tenants moving in and out, but also ownership of those units. Like other small businesses, business owners of retail properties are retiring out, and they're ready for what's next for them. So we're seeing a new wave of investors come in and take those properties as well. So
lots of changes.
Yes.
So what is your favorite thing to do in real estate? Because we all have our thing, right? And so what is the thing that you do or get to do? Maybe you do it a lot, maybe you don't. What is the one thing that you get to do that just really gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling that says, this is why I do what I do?
Besides closing.
Well, that one pays the bills. And
very
fun,
true.
but...
Very true. It does pay the bills. I like the discovery process. I like getting to know what a client needs and then kind of digging in and figuring out where that could be. This afternoon, I'm touring 5 properties with a client that is an international client, but they're looking for a space in the area for their use, and we've cast a wide net. So today I feel more like a residential agent because we'll be seeing 6 properties this afternoon. And
that's a lot on the commercial side.
Yeah, it is. In one day, it is a lot. Usually 3 or 4 is a busy day, but they're not in the area often, so we're taking advantage of the day, and then we'll narrow it down this evening and see which ones we're going to make an offer on. But really, today, discovering where they're going to fit. Probably the most exciting day for me is touring properties with a client. So
nice. I love doing that too.
Yeah.
So the biggest day I had was 14 properties in one day.
Wow.
I did it 2 days back to back on a weekend. They flew in. They had to have a property under contract by the end of the weekend. And so for me, what I realized was that
it's like 40 minutes of property. Bing, 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 bing.
Three properties. Take a break. Discuss those 3. 1 moves forward. Go look at the next 3. 2 get eliminated, 1 moves forward.
Strategy.
And then by the time you get to the 3rd group of 3, now you look at those 3.
Yeah.
And 2 of those get eliminated.
Yep.
Do you do something similar like that with?
Oh, we'll be doing that today and tomorrow. We're visiting a few properties in Salem specifically tomorrow, but we're kind of spreading out Seacoast area today.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes, we'll be narrowing it down as we go. So,
and going through the properties to me, that's like part of the fun. And I'm sure you do similar to me, where you're walking through a property, but you're also educating them on what you're seeing in the property, not just, okay, we're just going to walk in and you're going to be silent.
yes. Oh, and also reiterating things that we've talked about before the tour, pulling out things like tax cards that I've brought with me so we can go over important information with the listing agent or the owner that we're meeting with. Yes.
Awesome. We've got about 1 minute left.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you want our viewers to know about you, or what you do, or what they should be thinking about, or anything?
Well, I think that, outside of realty, that it's very important right now that we think about each other and our communities. And it is going to bring forward our businesses, that there's something to be said for that. But I think right now it's important that we take a look at our neighbors. If we haven't met them yet, which I know a lot of us haven't, maybe we should go. We don't have to bring them anything. We just have to say hello, get to know them, and
see them in the driveway and say hello.
Say hello. Absolutely. We don't have to, invite them over or anything, but it could lead to a relationship. And I think we need more of those relationships in our community. I'm involved in Kingston, where I lived with the town, and it's very important, I think, that we come together and
I agree.
And show up for each other. So
absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it,
Terry.
And for all of the folks watching at home, we are going to wrap it up for today, but we'll see you back next week.